Okay, welcome back to the Crypto Minute. It's your host, Mark, and we're going to try to predict the unpredictable. Now, I know some of you are going to, and I've had some comments on my last Black Swan post, but in Aftermath, it says, and we're going to look at the example of this, that these are things that we should have seen ahead of time. So why not try to predict them to see if it actually will happen? This is a two-part video. Wait for the second part. It's all on Nostradamus and what he said, and we're going to relate it to the stock market and the crypto market. So stay tuned. Please subscribe and like the videos. All right. So what is a Black Swan event? It's a event that is unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation and has potentially severe consequences. Black Swan events are characterized by their extreme rarity, severe impact, and the widespread insistence they are obviously in hindsight. Now, that's what they're saying in hindsight. Like, we should have seen them coming. And many of them say this. Black Swan events is an extremely rare event with severe consequences. It cannot be predicted beforehand, though after the fact, many falsely claim it should have been predictable. And that's what I'm trying to do. Let's see if we can try to figure out what may come for 2023. And let's kind of take a look at this from our standpoint and from what Nostradamus said and kind of tie it all together. All right. So reliance on standard forecasting tools cannot both fail to predict and potentially increase vulnerability to Black Swans events by propagating risk and offering false security. All right, so we got to understand what these things are. So they're very, very rare events, okay, that happen. And so we're going to give you some examples. All right, the housing crash in 2008, the financial crisis that happened, was one of the more recent events. We also had 2020 and COVID. It's an event you shouldn't have been able to predict. For inflation in 2008 in Zimbabwe, it was not predicted. The dot-com bubble of 2001, okay? Long-term capital management and some of the other ones in 1998, okay? So we have plenty of these examples. And are there plenty in the stock market? Yes. And there's something called a gray swan event. A gray swan event is an outlier, which is most probably more probable than a black swan event. As a result, people can get better prepared for hedge against gray swan events than they can for a black swan event. All right, we're going to try to tackle all this in this video. Okay, let's start with number 5 on our possible gray or black swan events for 2022 and 2023. This is a doozy. All right, Biden becomes ill and resigns. Kamala becomes president. Is this such a hard reach? We know he's not going to run again. Remember how she always said she was the president from the very beginning, and he named her as the president. Do you think he wants to nominate and have the first black president, female president? Okay, this is highly likely. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, number 4, the market crashes and falls over 50 to 70% from the top in January 2022. This is not a hard reach either. If you look at market indications, it really does seem that we're way overdue for a huge correction. And it's been since basically, I know 2020 was an abnormality because of COVID, but 2008, we've pretty much been going up since then. All right, let's move on to number 3. Number 3, cryptocurrencies finally get regulated by the end of 2023 and a new US Fed coin is issued. All right, there is things on the books that Biden did put in place that is going to have some sort of adoption, or at least look into what cryptocurrencies are. And some of these due dates are there, but I'm going out on a limb and saying that they're going to create their US Fed coin because they really don't want the dollar to plunge, and they're going to want to be ahead of all other digital currencies, and as far as the world goes, as far as a world currency. So they're going to want to try to get in, and they do not want to disrupt this. They also figured out that since 16% of people are involved in cryptocurrencies, they can't crash it completely because that would devastate the economy as well. All right, let's move on to the top 3. Okay, and finally, for the top 3 gray swan events for 22 and 23. Number 3, natural disasters increased. Volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, floods, hurricanes increased throughout 2023. Number 2, War breaks out in Taiwan. China attacks and the war ends as with China as the victor. This will be uncontested militarily by the US, and the war will end by the end of 2023. I have a feeling that they're just waiting for the war in Ukraine to come to some sort of conclusion. And number one, that is it. The war in Ukraine ends. And this can end with negotiations, divisions of some of the eastern regions to Russia in exchange for peace. And this can be pushed for by NATO. And I think it's going to have everything to do with energy. So because of that, I think they're going to push for peace and say, Ukraine, just give them the eastern portion and you go on with your merry way, and we can all go back to being friends again as far as the global economy, because things are going to get horrible.